Well, I started off the angel project, for the client and his wife, and first I kind of came up with a little bit more sultry type of angel. It was a little too graphic maybe, but so I tamed it down a little bit. She wanted to go with kind of making it look like she was holding a sphere or a crystal ball, and so I did some work with the pencil sketches and stuff and got it off to the customer. First step doing this project was just laying it out with a white stabilo, then quickly going around it with an airbrush and just kind of tracing it. Then shortly after that, degrease it, and off away you go with the airbrushing. Don't really have any references here other than my own recollection of a human female form, and I got a pretty good one. So I'm just going to go with this on my own and let it happen. And it's going to be somewhat of a fantasy-looking angel here, somewhat graphic, and maybe not necessarily knowing if she's like a good angel or a bad angel, but So here we go. We're going to do a little bit of white on the arms. Some of the shirt. We're going to start off with a strong sense of where the light's coming from, emanating from above, and somewhat of an atmospherical lighting. And then we're going to have the focus lighting and a lot of secondary accents with the interaction of the glowing crystal ball. Here you can see we're setting up for the lighting coming off the crystal ball, and it's going to be creating a lot of immediate light on the image in the foreground with the angel, and a lot of reflections off her skin and her face. So don't hesitate to get that light in there, and I spend a lot of time trying to develop this image with just the white. To create these effects and really try to approach the image with the white as something that defines it all by itself, but not really having to count on anything else to come in here and really tell you what's going on. And this is ever so important, when you're working with the type of lighting effects that we have here. working with the effect of the light and the secondary lighting coming from the globe and stuff, you really want to stay focused on the distance of which, how is this light affecting these objects as you get further away from this light source. And messing with things like the dress and the reflection off the skin and the waist, some of the snakes and the water are all going to be relative to the distance in which you perceive these objects being away from each other. And if you start off lightly and you work your way up to the intensity that you want, that's probably your best bet. You'll notice that I'm not going right after 100% saturation of white when I'm doing this stuff. I'm slowly building these values up, and as I emphasize in everything I talk about, it's a graduation of tone and color, and slowly increasing them as you're working. Okay, as we wrap up our white here, the first thing we're going to do is just kind of quickly go over this whole thing with a slight application of candy yellow. Alright, I'm going to be using a mixture of purplish black for the detailed tones here, and they'll have a real strong interaction with the white and create a lot of secondary values, being the fact that it is complementary to the yellow that you see here. I'm going to use some shielding to create some of the definition with this darker color where it's necessary. A lot of interactivity of freehand, loose hand shielding really create an interesting look, and I pretty much do that all the time, you know, working with the hair and stuff. It'd be a combination of some really fine dagger strokes as well as some shield work where it's necessary. A lot of stuff I do with the hair, and you know, pretty much the whole image is you know, done when you're working with these darker colors, going into the negative spaces and really defining those a lot, and you know, trying not to overwork your white or overpower it by losing the time that you spent with that color. You know, that's where you're pretty much telling the tale of what it is that you're painting, and don't spend, you know, too much time trying to overtake that first part of your process. going to be starting some of the loose hand shielding and some of the freehand work in the feathers, and I'm basically going around again, repeating, and probably sound like I'm repeating this all the time, but I'm using the guidelines set by the white to go in there and create the elements of contrast that I need with the darker colors. Sometimes when I'm working, I'll bounce around a little bit because, when you're working, you make observations over a period of time, and you can make improvements. And you'll notice me bounce around between the hair and the arms and stuff. And I do that quite a bit. And every now and then my eye will catch something, and I'll just go in and make the adjustments necessary. concept, the core shadowing all play a very important role to what we're doing here with the regards to the arm in the back as well as the back of the back. How's that? And sometimes down towards the lower hip area, down towards the buttocks. Is that the better way to say it? Their hindquarters. Right? That's it. Okay, when you're working on the hindquarters and the core shadow, it's all relevant, and you want to make sure that you have this shadow intact to help define the areas where the secondary and the primary lighting are shining or reflecting off the surface. I'm going to be doing a lot of freehand stuff throughout the dress, and also do some shielding here and there along the edges to help crispen them up where it's necessary. we begin to work on the feathers. We're gonna chisel them out. We're gonna kind of carve them out of the, the lighter tones that we've supplied earlier, and make them pop using the shielding and some freehand masking. Okay, finally got my way around the dress and some of the edges down below. Now I'm going to start using the same darker tone to create the definition inside the feathers using a series of dagger strokes and a little bit of shielding where it's necessary. But for the most part, we're looking at complete freehand stuff, and and shielding where it is. What is freehand? I don't know. I have no idea. But I guess it's when I have one freehand to turn up the radio when necessary. Starting from the tips, I'm going to accent the very end of the feathers and create the contrast necessary to separate those from the background. Not necessarily going around and creating an outline around the feathers to create this effect, but sometimes it's starting with a darker edge and allowing that edge to fade out and dissipate back into the lighter colors. Here's a pretty good overall shot of what we've gotten done here with this darker color and some of the highlights you see there. Okay, now we're going to be doing some of the highlights, and we're going to be focusing on where we want to accent the lighting. We want to create this effect that this glowing orb, this magic crystal ball is somewhat emanating a lot of light onto the object here, and we're going to be focusing on those dynamics with the white at this point in time. Also, some of the fun we're going to have with this is creating a little bit of confusion to the viewer's eye, wondering if she's holding the sun in the background or is she holding this orb. So the illusion of it being somewhat, created at a sunset and the reflection over the water all add to a little bit of this somewhat Escher-like effect with this crystal ball and or the sun. Okay, we're just about wrapped up with this project here. I hope you guys have enjoyed what we've been working on. It's been a lot of fun working on this little dirty little angel, but it was a good project, a lot of fun. I look forward to doing some more stuff like this in the future, and hope you guys have enjoyed it as well.